Our world has changed. Our challenges are greater. Our fragilities exposed. Our systems need a reset. Everyone has a role to play. The Great Deception. Join us. Fuck bollocks. Now, when we talk of UK politics and the blob and reference outside influence, what exactly do I mean? What do other people mean when they say outside influence of UK politics and world-type politics? Where does this influence come from? How did it come about? Is it really just a handful of families? Is there really a frontman that we all know? Well, in this video, we're going to get into that, and I'm going to try and explain where is your life heading and what will happen if we don't stop it. More importantly, how long do we have to stop it? So in this video, that's what I aim to answer. At the end of the video, I will have some run-on videos that may go on for a while. Don't feel you have to sit and watch it all. It is just something for extra information tacked onto the end. And if you feel like watching it, feel free. I will also state that it is this kind of information and these kind of videos that keep getting my channels taken down. It starts off by the video not getting pushed out, and then eventually my videos start disappearing off my channel, and then my channel disappears. So, just let you know. The World Economic Forum, the Great Reset, or the Great Deception. When I talk of outside influence and the impacts in every corner of the World Economic Forum are the public-facing figurehead of this. They stepped firmly into the light during the 2020 COVID-19 pandemic. In fact, in the public awareness, many of us believe that they were top of the whole deception. They used the COVID-19 pandemic in a bid to drive the world into a new dystopian future. This was coined the Great Reset and what I call the Great Deception. Agenda 2030, actually, fun fact, it was rebranded from Agenda 2020. I'm guessing they had to do that after Donald Trump beat Hillary Clinton in the 2016 US election. Either way, their focus was on driving change to business, finance, population, and overall control of nations and their people, replacing small and medium businesses with big tech and big business. This is where we wave goodbye to democracy and free enterprise, all the while paving the way to a re-entry of totalitarian government. Now, you may be able to see this in your own government's policies, certainly here in the UK with our government's actions, the policies and legislation, and the overall clampdown of our freedoms daily. Now, this has been planned for a very long time, and COVID just given the means and the data to fully implement and embed this dystopian nightmare on the population at large. You may remember during COVID, between the scaremonger and the manufacture of false stats, false lockdowns, and the ever-changing landscape of the world and systems we knew, all the while telling us there would be no return to normality. In fact, they have successfully created a new normal, just like they said. And all the leaders, celebrities, mainstream media, royalty, for example, King Charles, the defender of the faiths, plural. He's no longer the defender of the faith, the Christian faith. He is now the defender of the faiths. And add to King Charles, you've got the billionaires, etc. Now, they come out repeating the phrase, new normal, along with the Great Reset and Build Back Better, which then cemented them into the public awareness. Now, the World Economic Forum meets every year in Davos, Switzerland, where all of the leaders and so-called elites and celebrities fly out one by one on their private jets to discuss how they can stop us, the mere mouth breathers, living a free, happy, healthy life. And what we must do in the aid of stopping the manufactured climate change hoax and all the forced manufactured inequalities and exclusions. Coincidentally, not only are Keir Starmer and Andy Burnham Fabians, they are also heavily involved with the World Economic Forum. Knowing this, you will now understand why, after all the mistakes and inability to accept fault, and all the refusals from Keir Starmer to resign, you know the thing, I'm not going to resign, I'm going to keep stability. The people want us to complete the job we were elected for. That's what he kept on saying over and over again. Coincidentally, Andy Burnham says the same thing. Now recently, Keir Starmer has decided to resign. Right after Andy Burnham entered stage left. And just a few days later, after Andy Burnham popped up on the scene, then Starmer resigned. Coincidental. Now, this is my opinion. This is because he was ordered to, so they could replace him with their other guy. Now, this is all in the hopes that the people's negativity sticks with Keir Starmer and not the party or its totalitarian policies. They set Keir Starmer up as the fall guy, and they are doing exactly the same to Andy Burnham. Now, don't be fooled, Andy Burnham will carry on the exact same way with the further intrusions into our lives while removing more and more from us. All of this while bringing in more and more invaders. Instability and destruction are the aim. Now, the Great Reset is a giant shift in economies and laws to usher in a new type of capitalism, all with heavy focus on net zero emissions. For us, not them. If they succeed with this deranged plan, it will have dire and extreme impact on every life and all future generations. The main slogan you will all be familiar with is "You will own nothing and be happy." But did anyone ask how they will get us to the point of owning nothing? That question invokes an answer many seem to refuse to acknowledge. You own your home. You own everything in it. You own your car. You have money in the bank. So your response is maybe, how can I own nothing if I have all of this? In case the answer doesn't hit you around the head like a sock full of pool balls yet, then look closer at the policies, the spending, the borrowing, the volatility in the markets, and realise you are not going to get the option to relinquish your stuff. No, you are going to lose it. Or, in a more honest terminology, you are going to have it forcibly removed from you. It all starts without pricing you. Inflation, interest, taxes, etc. Then, for those who could weather those impacts, then comes the big doozy, the massive economic crash, the cause of which will be, who knows, they manufacture that many things, maybe war, maybe a standard market crash, maybe it's AI, maybe it's a pandemic. They have so much in their arsenal. The way does not matter. It is the devastating outcome to every man, woman and child. That is what really matters. You see, when you replace shareholders with stakeholders, these left-wing bureaucrats, the climate zealots, and replace small family businesses and private enterprises with big tech and big business, democracy and free enterprise are out the window, and totalitarian government control slides in via the back door. Remember, they basically told you back in 2020 that they were going to remove our rights and freedoms, and they deliberately used COVID as an excuse to use all the political and authoritarian tools that we used to eradicate COVID, because that's what we did. It was the lockdowns. It was all the tools is what eradicated COVID. That's what it was, the lockdowns, the exclusion zones, not to mention the forced business closures. All these successful things to beat a pandemic. They told you from the start. They didn't hide it. And not least, the very thing they have focused heavily on today, censorship and digital tracking. The clampdown is here. Now, these are the endgame implementations. And understand that digital ID is a fundamental necessity for a CBDC, that being a government-issued digital currency, a new form of money, which, in my opinion, will be tested soon, because this explains why we have such a huge problem with unemployment, and it's on the rise. Because, as I believe it, they just can't release a CBDC. They will have to testbed it. And it just seems obvious to me, if you want to release a CBDC which needs a test bed first, they have the perfect thing, don't they? You simply make a CBDC a requirement to claim benefits. What are you going to do? Say no? If you don't accept the CBDC, you don't get any money. So that's what they'll do. They will pay your benefits in a CBDC. And to get this, you will need digital ID. Then, after this false testing, it will be deemed a success. Then a major economic collapse will happen and traditional money will cease to be and fully replaced with this new monetary system. All complete with tracking, cut-off and expiry dates. They need the expiry dates because they do not want you saving, because if you do that, then you can start owning things again. They don't want you owning things. They want you fully dependent on the state. Then, after all that, comes the cull. A yearly or even bi-yearly meeting where you explain your purpose and your worth. This lets them decide if you should be allowed to live. Remember, one important thing. There are no elections in Agenda 2030. And right now, they are close to completion because they have gone virtually unhindered. Now suddenly, 2029 is looking less likely for change. We acquiesced during COVID and gave up life we knew as normal, and all agreed that a return to normal was impossible. And we willingly embraced their new normal. Well, this is it. You may have heard it said that this is a spiritual war. And if that is the case, you begin to then understand why they never hit it. Because they never. They have told us every step of the way, from the very beginning, in music, in TV, in movies, in books, in all sorts of media. Why? Because spiritually, they cannot force their will onto us. We have to accept it with our very own free will. This is why they don't force. Instead, they tiptoe, they coerce. We are the 99%, and we have the power. Have you ever heard that said? But do you know or understand what our power really is? If you don't, then please look into it and see where our power could lie. Because if I was to say what I think, I would just instantly lose you all, and everything I've said so far will be dismissed. But all I want you to know, it is the power of the 99% that the 1% are using, and we are allowing them to. Do not let them use us to create their vision of the world. Take back our power and create our own vision of the world. It is our world what has been hijacked. It is our power they are hijacking to create their world. Now, what I'm going to do now, guys, is I'm going to play some videos. You don't have to sit and watch them. They might go on for a little bit long. If you want a little bit extra information of what the WEF is, who Klaus Schwab is, who Larry Fink, and the usual suspects, Bill Gates, how they have been lying to you all this time, and we just lapped it up till we're in this position. Well, on that, guys, I'm going to go. Please enjoy the rest of the video. If you want to watch it, watch it. If you don't, you can end it here. If you're still here, that is. Until the next time, guys, thank you very much.
I propose putting an end to anonymity on social media.
You do not even have to have elections anymore because you can already predict, and afterwards you can say, why do we need elections? Because we know what the result will be.
What we are very proud of now is the young generation, like Prime Minister Trudeau, President of Argentina and so on, that we penetrate the cabinets.
People eat too much meat. There's this thing called the Lone Star tick, where if it bites you, you will become allergic to meat. That's something that we can do through human engineering.
Why do you want to own a cell phone if you can just lease it? And if you lease, why shouldn't you lease your refrigerator or your washing machine or your dishwasher, or why do you want to own it?
Now imagine the situation in 10 or 20 years when an algorithm can tell any teenager exactly where he or she is on the gay-straight spectrum.
In 10 years when we are sitting here, we have an implant in our brain. I can immediately feel, because you all will have implants,
Where are they traveling? How are they traveling? What are they eating? What are they consuming on the platform? So, individual carbon footprint tracker.
Humans are now hackable animals.
There's some really interesting research that we can plant false memories in the brain. People believing that they've been at Disney World with characters who are not Disney characters, taking photographs with those characters.
This morning, a New Jersey man is the first known person to die after a tick bite triggered a severe meat allergy.
This is really something that, people should be aware of and physicians should be aware of.
The 47-year-old went camping with his family in 2024 and got violently ill after eating a steak. He recovered, but 2 weeks later, he ate a hamburger and again got very sick, then died.
I think we need to now reach out and we need to show that we are listening to people across the board, including in the community. It is clear that when we went into the last election, relationships were damaged. As leader of the Labour Party, I would make it my business to put those relationships right. And as a start of a 10, I can say tonight that the first foreign visit I would do as leader of the Labour Party would be to Israel, to show that message from the very start.
Thank you.
In order to collaborate on a large scale, you need to convince everybody to believe in the same story. What really the engine of history is stories. And they don't even need to be true. Right. Some of the most powerful stories in history were fictions. Right. But you need to get everybody, or at least a significant part of the population, to believe in the same story. Otherwise, it doesn't work.
Science is not really, at least this is my view as a historian, science is not really about truth. It's about power. The real aim of science as a project, as an establishment, is not truth, it's power. Particular individuals, particular scientists may be very interested in the truth, personally. But as an institution, the real aim of science is power.
Those who own the data really own the future. We are reaching a point in human history that we have enough biological knowledge and we have enough computing power, and all you need in order to systematically hack millions of people is just the data.
that to hack people means to know people better than they know themselves. Right. To somebody in San Francisco, in Beijing, knows you, knows more about you than you know about yourself, about your medical condition, about your mental weaknesses, things that you did 5 years ago, 20 years ago, you completely forgot about them, they know it.
Right.
This is something we never faced before. Not even the KGB could do it.
Right.
And we are already beginning to see the emergence of such total surveillance regimes in places like Xinjiang, in places like in my own home country in Israel. We have this big laboratory of surveillance called the occupied territories, where you have 2.5 million guinea pigs of how to completely survey and control a population with very few soldiers. I mean, when you look at the numbers, it's amazing how few soldiers you need to control millions of people if you have their data.
Here from the forum's executive chairman and founder, Professor Klaus Schwab.
Thank you, Adrian. It is obvious that we are in the midst of the most severe crisis the world has experienced since World War II. 75 years ago, countries and people came together to shape the post-war global order, which brought us decades of peace, increased global cooperation, and prosperity to hundreds of millions of people around the world. The COVID-19 crisis has shown us that our old systems are not fit anymore for the 21st century. It has laid bare the fundamental lack of social cohesion, fairness, inclusion, and equality. Now is the historical moment, the time, not only to fight severe virus, but to shape the system for the need for the post-corona era. We have a choice to remain passive, which would lead to the amplification of many of the trends we see today: polarization, nationalism, racism, and ultimately increased social unrest and conflicts. But we have another choice. We can build a new social contract, particularly integrating the next generation. We can change our behavior to be in harmony with nature again. And we can make sure that the technologies of the fourth industrial revolution are best utilized to provide us with better lives. In short, we need a great reset. We have to mobilize all constituents of our global society to work together. We must not miss this unique window of opportunity. For this reason, I'm grateful that we are joined for this announcement of the Great Reset Initiative, not only by His Royal Highness the Prince of Wales, but by representatives of international organizations, business, trade unions, scientists, and above all, the young generation. Now we have the very special message from the United Nations Secretary General, Antonio Guterres.
Caroline, thank you very much indeed for your kind words. I think I have a feeling it's about 38 years now, probably, or something like that, that I've been trying. But these are unprecedented times. Every person on the planet has been impacted by the coronavirus pandemic. Our world came to a standstill, and it became clear that we did not have the answer or the mechanisms to address such an unprecedented global threat. The threats posed by this dreadful pandemic came upon us suddenly with very little warning. The threat of climate change has been more gradual, but its devastating reality for many people and their livelihoods around the world, and its ever greater potential to disrupt, surpasses even that of COVID-19. In addition to COVID-19, over the last few decades, we have seen bird flu, swine flu, Ebola, MERS, SARS, which are all zoonotic diseases originating in animals. More than half of all pathogens affecting humans come from animals. Changing the relationship between wild, domestic, and human animals makes pandemics more likely, which is why we need to restore balance with the natural world through decisive action on climate change and restoring biodiversity. If we look at the planet as if it were a patient, we can see that our activities have been damaging her immune system, and she has been struggling to function and thrive due to the strain we have put on her vital organs. To treat her, we need to restore balance and put nature back at the center of the circle. And to achieve this, we must act for health and well-being, understand nature's patterns and cycles, recognize the value of diversity, unity, and the interdependence of all living things, consider the importance of innovation and adaptation, and invest in nature-based solutions to help stimulate a more circular bioeconomy that gives back to nature as much as we take from her. Now, I can only hope that as this current crisis passes, we are able to reflect on and shape the type of world we want for ourselves and for future generations. The 75 years after the Second World War saw unprecedented growth, rising longevity, and poverty reductions. But all this put an overwhelming strain on our environment. The good news is that we have many of the solutions to hand. Renewable energy is now cheaper than fossil fuels. Our agriculture and land use can be more resilient, healthy, and productive if we do not degrade our land, destroy our forests, and poison our water. Unfortunately, we so often forget that we are profoundly dependent on nature for our lives and livelihoods. So, how do we balance the need to rebuild economic prosperity, the need to get people back to work against environmental concerns? Investing sustainably now can be a fast, efficient, and attractive way to reboot our economy. Therefore, what should be the principles that underlie the reshaping of a new and better global economic system? To seize this window of opportunity, I believe we need to do 5 things. First of all, to create momentum for the Great Reset, we need to capture the imagination and will of humanity. We will only change if we really want to change. Secondly, the global economic recovery must set us on a new trajectory of sustainable employment, of livelihoods and economic growth. To achieve scale, we must not be afraid to reorientate our long-standing incentive structures, which have been having such perverse effects on our planetary environment and on nature herself, if we are to reap the benefits afforded by a more sustainable world. Thirdly, we must redesign systems and pathways to advance net zero transitions globally. And in this regard, carbon pricing can form a critical pathway to genuinely sustainable markets. This reset moment is our opportunity to accelerate and align our efforts to create truly global momentum. Countries, industries, and businesses moving together can create efficiencies and economies of scale that will allow us to leapfrog our collective progress and accelerate our transition. Fourthly, we must reinvigorate science, technology, and innovation. This crisis has shown the importance of investing in science, technology, and innovation. We are on the verge of catalytic breakthroughs that will alter our view of what is possible and profitable within the framework of a sustainable future. And fifthly, we must rebalance investment. Accelerating sustainable investment could offer significant economic growth and employment opportunities, including in green energy, the regeneration of nature and landscapes, the circular bioeconomy, ecotourism, and green public infrastructure. It is time, therefore, to align sustainable solutions with funding in a way that can transform the marketplace. This would be the most dramatic act of responsible leadership ever seen by the global private sector, and would at once provide a catalytic incentive for the public sector to follow. We have a golden opportunity to seize something good from this crisis. Its unprecedented shockwaves may well make people more receptive to big visions of change, and global crises like pandemics and climate change know no borders and highlight just how interdependent we are as one people sharing one planet. Over the past month or so, despite the ongoing crisis, I've been encouraged to see the growing calls for a green recovery. We need only look to the United Nations Secretary General, to the IMF, the EU, the Petersburg Climate Dialogue, the Canadian government, the COP26 Universities Network, and business leaders around the world to see this. And as we move from rescue to recovery, therefore, we have a unique but rapidly shrinking window of opportunity to learn lessons and reset ourselves on a more sustainable path. It is an opportunity we have never had before and may never have again. So we must use all the levers we have at our disposal, knowing that each and every one of us has a vital role to play. Everything I have tried to do and urge over the past 50 years has been done with our children and grandchildren in mind. So I can only encourage us all to think big and act now. Thank you, Caroline.
You have talked about this is a moment that can't be lost. As Kristalina said, we must turn the page. As His Royal Highness said, we will only change if we want to. What does the Great Reset mean to you? You've been working again on this agenda for many decades. And how is the World Economic Forum and Davos going to contribute to this game-changing moment?
I think the most important issue is to change our mindsets. And instead of being so much focusing on short-termism as we did in the past, we have to keep in mind the long-term perspectives and the long-term prosperity. This leads me, for example, to the need, and the World Economic Forum is very much engaged, to elaborate a comprehensive system of ESG, environmental, social, and good governance criteria for companies. It should be a must for companies to report, not only on financial success, but how they contribute to our environmental health, to social cohesion, and exercise good governance. That's only one aspect. So to answer your question related to Davos, we will now start a quite high number of task forces to look at all the different issues, and we will present all those ideas to the people assembled in Davos, to the leaders from business and from the political community. But at the same time, we will make Davos very different, very open. We will mobilize our 10,000 global shapers in over 400 cities around the world to organize a twin summit and to interact continuously with those assembled in Davos to ensure that we do not fall back to old recipes, but that we really look at forward-oriented solutions.
Thank you, Klaus. And let me just press you with one final question, which is, Klaus, what do you say to skeptics out there who might say, we need to go back to where we were because we need the engine to run at maximum? If we go for a great reset, if we go for green growth, if we go for long-term value creation, it may be at the expense of jobs or short-term productivity. What do you say to those people?
My question to those people would be, what is the alternative? And what we are doing to a certain extent is a betrayal of the next generation. If we do not act, if we don't take our responsibility in face of history. So my response would be, instead of being cynical and critical, why don't you come and you engage? We need all the forces. We need everybody on board. And this initiative will really integrate everybody in the world who has a voice and who has particularly an innovative proposal how to improve livelihood.
You now make a point of that's an investment criteria for you.
Well, behaviors are going to have to change, and this is one thing we're asking companies. You have to force behaviors, and at BlackRock we are forcing behaviors. 54% of the incoming class are women. We added 4 more points in terms of diverse employment this year, and what we are doing internally is if you don't achieve these levels of impact, your compensation could be impacted, okay?
We're doing the same thing.
And so it's just, you have to force behaviors. And if you don't force behaviors, whether it's gender or race or just any way you want to say the composition of your team, you're going to be impacted. And that's not recruiting, it is development, as Ken said. And ultimately, it's still going to take time, but I am just as much shocked as Ken is that we have not seen more opportunities, and we're going to have to force.
Probably one of these numbers is going to have to get pretty near to 0. That's back from high school algebra, but let's take a look. First, we've got population. The world today has 6.8 billion people. That's headed up to about 9 billion. Now, if we do a really great job on new vaccines, healthcare, reproductive health services, we could lower that by perhaps 10 or 15%.